In this video, I'm going to share with you what is community coaching and why it's such a powerful model for your business. Let's go. Welcome, superstar. In this video, I'm going to talk about what is community coaching and how it could be a really powerful model for your business. As a coach, I know that you got into this business because you want to help people. You want to serve, you want to lead, you want to support, you want to foster transformation in others. And as a coach, if you're a really good coach, you'll find, if you haven't already, that eventually you'll hit a place where you have as many one-on-one coaching clients as you could possibly handle. And without sacrificing your lifestyle, you're kind of at an upper limit in your business. When that happens, you can either raise your prices or you can work more hours. Now, raising prices is great, and I'm a big fan of that and a big believer in that. And there's only so much that the market will bear. You can't charge $1 million a year for coaching. Well, wait, if you're Tony Robbins, you can do that. But you're not Tony Robbins, or else you probably wouldn't be watching this video. I'm not Tony Robbins either. So here's a better solution besides working more hours, which I don't think you want to do. I certainly didn't. What you can do instead is create a more leveraged and scalable model, which is group coaching. Now, that said, group coaching is a little bit different, in my opinion, than community coaching. Now, I didn't realize that there was a distinction. I just found this term, community coaching, very recently. But I realized that what I do, what I advocate, is way more like community coaching than group coaching. See, group coaching is you as the leader leading everybody in a group. And that's great. That's a really great way to start. That's certainly how I started my business, my community coaching business. But community coaching is different in that you are not the only source of magic. You are not the only person coaching. In a community coaching model, what ends up happening is that the community starts to coach itself and each other. So in other words, you have the relationship with you as a coach, and maybe you're doing that one-on-one or that group coaching also. And as people spend more time in the community, and because it's a community, people can stay for years and years and years, they can rise into leadership and they can start to support and coach each other. And that's what makes this model truly brilliant, because it's very sustainable. See, group coaching programs tend to not have very high retention. People in group coaching programs usually don't stay more than 2 years. That's what the research says, that 2 years is about the average for people to stay in a program like that. Whereas community coaching, I haven't seen the study on this, but I'll testify from my own experience with my own business and my clients, people tend to stay a lot longer in a community where they feel like they belong and they want to stay. And so in a community coaching program, really, I've got a client who's been in my program now for 9 years. And I don't think she'd be there for 9 years if it was all about me coaching her by myself. I think the reason she stays, or one of the main reasons she stays, is because she gets so much value out of all the other elements of the community. So let's talk a little bit about how to build a community coaching program. What are some of the elements of it? But before I do that, I want to invite you to take a moment and like this video and subscribe to my channel. I would really appreciate it if you did. One of the important things about community coaching is that generally it's built around a specific topic or industry or niche. That is great because it supports not only marketing so that it facilitates people finding you and coming together, but it also supports delivery, because if everyone is focused on one thing, then they've got this thing in common that they connect about. So for example, in my community coaching model, everybody is some sort of speaker, coach, or consultant that's trying to build a community of their own, some sort of big back-end coaching program. So let's talk about what it looks like. I have these 4 categories. I'm looking down at my computer, by the way. I've got these 4 categories that I'm going to focus on. The first category is the structure of the program. So in my community coaching program, and in the ones that I've seen work really, really well, it's a combination of different types of coaching. So the first and the most obvious, and the one that I started with, is one-on-one coaching. So in my community coaching program, people work with me one-on-one on a regular basis. And lately, in the last couple years, I've also added other coaches that they can work one-on-one with. I've added mindset coaches and performance coaches. Now, I only added those in the last couple of years, so I want to emphasize that I ran this community model for years before I had other coaches lead it. And I'm not saying you need to wait for years. I'm simply saying that you don't need other coaches to have a community coaching model. You can do this by yourself. The second type of coaching inside of the structure is that they coach with each other. Now, when people come into their first year in my program, you don't have to do it this way, but you could. In my program, they don't coach other people in that first year. But when people graduate from year one and go into the 2-3 year, which is a 2-year agreement, they enter something called Leadership Cabinet. And every single member of Leadership Cabinet, one of the agreements they make is that they will donate back a certain number of sessions to the collective. So all of my Leadership Cabinet people offer up, I think it's 4 sessions over the course of each month maximum that they're willing to spend, the 30-minute sessions, that they're willing to spend with other people in the community. Now, in addition to the one-on-one coaching with me and with the Leadership Cabinet, people also have access to a group format that we do every single week. And then finally, and possibly one of the most important things that we do that fosters community and that creates that longevity for the program is that we have in-person experiences. I'm a big believer that the in-person experiences, that getting together in the flesh, is extremely powerful and extremely important towards creating community. So that's what I recommend in terms of the format of your community coaching program. Now, the second component of a community coaching program that's vital, maybe I should have put this first, is culture. What I found is that the culture is what really makes people want to stay. So what is culture? Well, I'm not going to dive super deep into it in this particular video because I do have a video about how to create group coaching culture, and we'll link to that below. But I will share a few highlights. Number one, a big part of culture building, I think, again, is those in-person events. Secondly, I think it's the values and standards of the culture. So making sure that your culture has clear values. For example, one of our values in our culture is that we feel the feelings, meaning that we don't try to put a mask on, we don't pretend that we are better than we are, we don't try to bypass the crappy stuff that happens. Instead, we lean in and we bring it to the culture. That's one of our values, that we feel the feelings and we lean in. Another big piece of culture, in my opinion, is language. Having shared language, special words that you use to describe certain things. So for example, I always say energy precedes outcomes, and my clients know it and they repeat it back to me, right? There's certain words, there's certain verbiage. Another thing that we do in our culture is we avoid using the word but. Like, I want to do this thing, but I also want to make money, right? Like, we don't use but because that implies that those two things are mutually exclusive, and they're not. So we replace but with and. So having your own language, your own way of speaking about things can be a powerful culture creator. And then another one that I'll mention is that's going to support this particular conversation about community coaching is having a path to leadership, making sure that there's a way for people who start out to work their way up in the culture to be able to contribute more and grow more and get more out of it, right? So some sort of growth trajectory. The third component of having a community coaching program is your leadership, and in being an embodied, charismatic, present, caring, wise leader. This is the hardest one of all, in my opinion. At least it was for me. I didn't realize how much I didn't know. I didn't know what I didn't know about leadership until I stepped into leading a community coaching program. It's been one of the most challenging, difficult things I've ever done, and absolutely, bar none, hands down, the most rewarding. I've become someone new as a result of stepping into leadership in this way. It requires you to face a lot of triggers. There are a lot of triggers that happen when you're leading a community. People get into conflicts, people backstab each other, they gossip, they fight, they hurt each other. And guess what? You get to be the person that creates the culture within which all this lives and within which everyone gets elevated. So this is your work to do, is to become a better leader. And that's a whole nother conversation in and of itself. But specifically, and in this context, I'll talk about It's you as the leader that creates the culture. It's you as the leader who sets the standards. It's you as the leader that holds boundaries, that might have to let clients go because they're not holding the standards, right? So this is the work of the leader, and it is a lot of work, and again, it is very, very rewarding. And then finally, I think one of the biggest and most important things, if not the most important, although I think I may have already said one was the most important, is the community itself. Who are the people you're bringing in? The community, the people are the ones that make the community in a community coaching program. So in the beginning, when I was doing this work, I didn't really give enough importance to who I was curating into the community. I would let whoever wanted to sign up, sign up. I basically wanted everyone to sign up, so I tried to get everyone to sign up. And in the years since starting, I've become much, much more discerning about who I invite and who I allow in. And that's because I am cultivating a community now, not just selling a program. If you want to learn how to build your community coaching program, it is my absolute favorite thing to do. I have a program called the Superstar Business Breakthrough, and the whole point of the program is to design your community coaching model. So if you want to find out more about that, check out superstarbusinessbreakthrough.com.